Thank you very much. The Senate will come to order. Mr. Carpenter, would you please call the roll?
Senators Bridges, Cook,
Excuse.
Coram, Crowder, Danielson,
Absent.
Donovan, Finberg, Fields,
Absent.
Foote, Gardner, Janal, Gonzalez, Hanson, Hill, Heisey, Holbert, Lee, Lundeen, Marble, Moreno, Pedersen,
Excuse.
Priola, Rankin, Rodriguez, Scott, Smallwood, Sonnenberg, Story, Tate, Todd,
Present.
Williams, Winter, Woodward, Zinzinger, Fields, President Garcia,
Excuse.
Danielson. Madam President,
Present. With 32 present, 0 absent, and 3 excused, we have a quorum. Senator Woodward.
Thank you. Guests and colleagues, if you'll please
Please
stand.
lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Sorry, I didn't finish the sentence. Please.
Guests and colleagues, please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of the journal. Senator Lee.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the reading of the journal for Tuesday, March 3, 2020 be dispensed with and that the journal be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. Senate Services.
correctly printed, Senate Bill 190 and 191, Senate Joint Resolution 17, correctly engrossed, Senate Bill 40, 80, 139, 171, 175, 176, correctly re-engrossed, Senate Bill 166 and 177, correctly revised, House Bill 1020, 1041, 1044, 1057, 1074, 1157, and 1159, correctly revised, House Bill 1009, 1013, 1038, and 1124, correctly enrolled, Senate Bill 61.
Committee reports.
March 3rd, 2020, Committee on Transportation, Energy, Advocacy, and Merits Committee as following. House Bill 1185, be referred to Committee hold with favorable recommendation placed on the consent calendar. March 3rd, 2020, the Committee on Finances and Advocacy had a hearing on following appointments, recommends the appointments be placed on consent calendar confirmed. Member of the Public Employees Retirement Benefit Plans for a term expiring July 10th, 2022, Thomas J. Barrett of Denver, Colorado, to serve as representative with experience and competence in investment management, finance, banking, economics, accounting, pension administration, or actuarial analysis, and is a Democrat appointed. March 3rd, 2020, Committee on Finance, Advocacy, and Merits Committee as following. House Bill 1166 be referred to Committee of the Whole. If favorable recommendation placed on the consent calendar.
Third reading of bills, consent calendar. Mr. Carpenter, please read the titles of all the bills on the consent calendar. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. I move Senate Bill 176, which is on the consent calendar for today, to lay over until tomorrow, March 5th.
Is there discussion? Thank you. The motion to lay over Senate Bill 176 to March 5th. All those in favor say aye. All no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 176 will lay over until March 5th. Majority Leader Finberg.
Thank you, Madam President. And also, there has been a request to remove House Bill 1057 from the consent calendar, which is on today's third reading of bills consent calendar.
That will be done. Is there any discussion on any of the bills? Oh, I'm sorry. I got ahead of you. Mr. Carpenter, back to the, please read the titles of consent calendar.
House Bill 1159 by Representatives Robertson, Catlin, and Senators Donovan and Quorum concerning the authority of the state engineer to confirm the extent of uses of water in existence in the date of an in-stream flow appropriation. Senate Bill 171 by Senators Winter and Smallwood, Representative Soper and Buckner concerning rules under the Children's Habilitation Residential Program. House Bill 1041 by Representatives Cutter, McKean, and Senator Fields concerning financial responsibility requirements for physician assistants who have been practicing for at least 3 years. Senate Bill 175 by Senators Zinzinger and Rankin and Representatives Daytona and McLaughlin concerning the prohibition of indicating an assessment score on a student's high school transcript.
Is there any discussion on any of the bills? Seeing none? Oh, Senator Crowder.
Are we ready? Oh, 1 second.
Majority Leader Finberg.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the passage of all the bills on the third reading of bills consent calendar, which includes House Bill 1159, Senate Bill 171, House Bill 1041, and Senate Bill 175.
Is there any discussion on any of the bills? Senator Crowder.
Madam President, I want to be considered a no vote on 1159 and 1041. Thank you.
Thank you. So,
Other no votes?
are there any no votes? Senator Minority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to be recorded as a no vote on House Bill 1041.
That is noted. Thank you. Senator Marble.
Thank you, Madam President. I also wish to be recorded as a no vote on House Bill 1041.
So noted. Are there any no votes on House Bill 1159? Seeing none, with a vote of 31 ayes, 1 no, and 3 excused, House Bill 1159 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senator Hansen, Bridges, Tate, Winter,
Wait a second. So we got rid of this one because we took it off. So now you're going to start right here with a vote of.
okay, so we got rid of that one.
And just look at what he's got over there.
Okay. With a vote of 32 ayes, 0 noes, and 3 excused, Senate Bill 171 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Janal. Okay. With a vote of 32 ayes, Oh, I'm sorry, Senator Tate on 171.
And then Senator,
Senator Moreno.
President Garcia.
Senator Garcia, Mr. President. Senator Bridges.
So now, make sure, go ahead, finish.
Okay, all right. With a vote of 29 ayes and 3 noes and 3 excused, House Bill 1041 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Tate, Janal, Winter, Hanson, with a vote of 32 ayes, 0 noes, and 3 excused, Senate Bill 175 is passed. Co-sponsors? Mr. President, Senators Moreno, Bridges, Rodriguez, Lundin, Gardner, Tate, Hanson, Winter, Story, Janal, Gonzalez, Fields, Danielson, Pedersen, Marble, Mr. Minority Leader, Scott, with a vote of 32. Oh, that does conclude.
So we've got a new script here because we made some changes that go by this one.
Thank you. Third reading of bills. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title of Senate. Mr. Carpenter, please add Senator Pedersen and Mr. President Garcia to the roll. Third reading of bills. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title to Senate Bill 93.
Senate Bill 93 by Senators Foot and Finberg and Representative Jackson concerning protections related to mandatory agreement provisions in connection therewith, enacting the Consumer and Employee Dispute Resolution Fairness Act.
Majority Leader Finberg.
Thank you, Madam President. I move Senate Bill 93 lay over to the bottom of the third reading of bills calendar.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 93 will lay over until Thursday, March 6th. To the bottom of the calendar for March 5th. And it's placed on the calendar for today. Bottom of the calendar for today. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title to Senate Bill 40.
Senate Bill 40 by Senators Janal Todd and Representatives Buckner, Michelson, Janae concerning the regulation of genetic counselors in connection with making an appropriation.
Senator Janal.
Thank you, Madam President. I move Senate Bill 40 on third reading and final passage.
Is there any discussion? Senator Hill.
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, we do this again and again and again up here. We have this idea that if we just regulate and control these different professions, we will protect consumers from the choices they make, from the opportunities that they have. Colleagues, I think we kind of kid ourselves when we do this. We kid ourselves that a few words on a page and bureaucracy and regulations will somehow make genetic counselors better, that will somehow make consumers safer. The greatest protection we have right now, I mean, every single one of us does it. We get online, we check Yelp reviews, we check Google reviews, we check Amazon reviews. We have had the chance to democratize the control, the review, the protection of consumers. And this is a 19th, maybe a 20th century model for protecting consumers. Colleagues, I just advise us, if we're serious about the 21st century, if we're serious about taking the technology and the opportunity available to us, that would be by far our best approach for protecting consumers. Respectfully ask a no vote.
Is there any further discussion? Are there any no votes? Mr. Minority Leader, Senator Marble, Senator Lundin, Senator Smallwood, Senator Scott, Senator Woodward, Senator Hill, with 27 aye votes and 7 no votes, 1 excused, Senate Bill 40 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senator Tate. Senator Winter. Hansen. Priola. Mr. Carpenter, please read title to House Bill 1157.
House Bill 1157 by Representatives Roberts and Will and Senator Donovan concerning Colorado Water Conservation Board's authority to use water that a water right owner voluntarily loans to the board for in-stream flow purposes.
Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Madam President. I move House Bill 1157 on third and final reading.
Are there any no votes? Or is there any further discussion? Are there any no votes? Senator Gardner, Senator Crowder, Senator Sonnenberg, Senator Sonnenberg, or excuse me, Senator Smallwood, Senator Tate, with 29 aye votes and Senator Marble. With 28 aye votes and 6 no votes and 1 excused, House Bill 1157 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Hansen, Winter, Bridges, Gonzalez, Zenzinger, Moreno. Mr. President, Rodriguez. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title to House Bill 1020.
House Bill 1020 by Representatives Snyder, Benavidez, and Senator Moreno concerning the restriction of the state sales tax exemption for long-term lodging.
Senator Moreno.
Thank you, Madam President. I move House Bill 1020 on third reading and final passage.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of House Bill 1020. Are there any no votes? Mr. Minority Leader, Senators Marble, Lundin, Rankin, Gardner, Woodward, Tate, Smallwood, Sonnenberg, Heisey, Scott, Hill, with 22 ayes and 12 noes, 1 excused, Senate Bill 1020 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senator Gonzalez, Lee, Winter, Hansen, Rodriguez, Mr. Carpenter, please read the title of Senate Bill 139.
Senate Bill 139 by Senator Foote and Representative Gray concerning authorization for a county to lend money to a governmental entity created by or located within the county for the purposes of providing funding for public infrastructure projects within the county.
Senator Foote.
Thank you, Madam President. I move Senate Bill 139 on third reading and final passage.
Is there any further discussion? Senator Hill.
Thank you, Madam President. And colleagues, I regret that I was not here yesterday for this discussion. Just reading this bill makes me think this is what people hate about politics. Smoke-filled rooms, backroom deals. We've got one government entity loaning money to another government entity. We have a rich and vibrant private sector that assesses risk, that manages risks, that has expectations. We've seen so many failures of local government loaning money within the last 10 years. Every single year we have a different attempt to clean some of this up, whether it's special district financing, whether it's checks on developers and what they can and can't do. I don't understand the mindset that says we trust one government entity to loan money to another government entity without any competition, without any without any checks and balances other than what we put in place, with no checks and balances to say, anytime you loan money, there's a risk. And there's no market for risk in a government-to-government loan. I think this is unwise policy. I think the taxpayers are going to be on the hook for political decisions rather than financial decisions made around these areas.
Senator Foote.
Thank you, Madam President. So I would say to my colleague from Colorado Springs that there are a number of amendments that were made in committee that address some of the issues that were brought up. We had a good discussion in committee. We had excellent discussions leading up to committee, which led to the amendments in committee, which include a public process amendment that requires a public process under the Open Meetings Law. It requires also a checklist that the county commissioners have to go through that's been established beforehand before seeking this kind of loan from another public entity or to another public entity. It requires also to seek out private loans prior to seeking this kind of public loan. And if the private loans are unavailable or at bad terms, then they can go into this. So it's more of a last resort than it is a first resort. And it is a public process. No smoke-filled rooms, or I guess now we would say vape-filled rooms, will be part of this process. So ask for an aye vote because of those reasons.
Senator Hill.
Thank you, Madam President. And sure, I actually appreciate the sponsor willing to come and explain some of that. I respect and appreciate those amendments that happened in committee, but it's the underlying economic theory that is the challenge for this approach. When we say it's going to be of last resort, the reality is government-to-government loans are not market takers. They become the market makers. That becomes the standard. No one wants to loan on the private side right? Obviously, you need to incorporate risk into your calculations on interest. Interest is strictly a risk calculation that says, given the risk of default, the time value of money, I'm going to require a certain amount of payment above and beyond what the principal of the loan is. Governments don't have that calculation. Governments have the ability to say, there's no time value of money for me on this, it's just my ability to tax that from the taxpayer. That's why government loans are considered the most secure. That's why at the federal level, right, I mean, your most secure loans worldwide, your most secure loans are going to be T-bills, T-notes, because they know the power of the federal government to tax the U.S. taxpayer is really what backs up the default on that. By allowing this and expecting it to be the last resort, the reality is within a couple years, we're going to have the process of drying up private loans in these cases. Because who wants to compete at the federal level? Who's going to compete with a similar rate, which is effectively right, 1.0%, I think is what we're looking at yesterday. 1%. Who wants to compete with that on a 10-year note? Nobody does. So we've dried it up for those kind of notes. It's why our savings accounts have gone to zero on your interest rates. We are going to dry up the local lending. And again, we say smoke-filled rooms, but the reality is this is going to be one government official at one level talking to another government official at another level saying, hey, I know exactly how we can get this done. And that to me is not, it doesn't incorporate, it does not price in risk. I think this is I think it's an unwise approach no matter how many checks and balances. I think it's an unwise philosophy that government is in the business of lending money to other government entities when neither one of them bears the full weight of risk nor the full price of default. Again, respectfully ask for no vote.
Senator Crowder.
Thank you, Madam President. I was on the committee that heard this, and I went into that committee as a solid no until I heard the testimony. You know, with the amendments, the banks went to neutral, and basically the treasurer of Boulder County is the one that testified, and they indicated they had $145 million that they were just sitting on. I asked them if there's any way just to give that back to the taxpayers, and there was absolutely no way, because it's Boulder County, that they would do that. So I felt that $145 million, and they can only go down to, I think it was 8% of a certain level or whatever it was, that this money should be put to work for the taxpayers of that county. My only concern was that this could get out of hand outside of infrastructure. In other words, exactly what the previous speaker was talking about, how you could get these backroom deals. So I was pretty confident that the guide rails, the amendments, and especially the bankers going neutral on this was plus every county would have to opt into it. It's not a mandatory deal, but I thought this was a good fit for Boulder County because they could keep collecting all this tax money and nowhere to spend it. So I thought the taxpayers at least should get that benefit for paved roads and whatnot. So that's why I was a yes. Thank you.
Senator Lundin. Senator Tate.
Thank you, Madam President. Just curious for the bill sponsor, when I heard the lender of last resort term, kind of piqued my interest a little bit more. What type of project do you contemplate, maybe it was mentioned at the committee hearing, would be the kind of candidate that the county would want to have the project go forward, but there would be no credit available?
Senator Foote.
Thank you, Madam President. I always enjoy speaking about these bills, whether it be second or thirds, and I will answer the question, but also want to reemphasize a point from my colleague from Alamosa, which is that this is a completely opt-in bill. So if the county commissioners do not philosophically agree with this approach or don't want to take the chance of this approach or just don't even want to consider the approach, then of course they can do that. Really what this bill does is merely give the county commissioners in statutory counties the power that home rule counties and home rule cities already have. But we have to do it here at the legislature because they're statutory counties. 60 out of 64 of our counties are statutory. 4 counties already have this power, and many home rule cities already have the power. So we're not doing anything that's really brand new here. In fact, the language originally on the bill was cribbed mainly from one of the home rule cities that has done it before, and they're not the only one. So the type of project that this could apply to, and before going into it, I want to emphasize that it's not necessarily limited to this one particular district or one particular county. Other counties can do it if they want to, or not. It's completely up to them. But the idea for this really came from a number of different sources, but really what piqued my interest the most was in my particular district, we have smaller neighborhoods in the unincorporated part of the county. And those neighborhoods were built about 15 or 20 years ago, 20 to 25 houses. And they took charge of, or at least the county did not take charge of, maintaining the roads. And so those roads are now in a sad state of disrepair. They're crumbling. And the county has said, look, we are not really interested in paving these roads. The people in the in the neighborhood want to pave the roads. And so what they did is they took it upon themselves to form a local improvement district so they could collect taxes amongst themselves to pave their roads. And that's, of course, fine. We are fine with that here in Colorado with being a local control state. The problem is that with only 20 to, say, 30 houses collecting taxes over maybe 10 years, it would take them 10 years to actually pave their road. This bill, if it's enacted and gone through all the process by Boulder County in this instance, would allow them to loan the money to the local improvement district so they can pave the road in year 1 instead of year 10. And that's a win-win for everybody, the people in the neighborhood, people in the county. But again, I just want to emphasize it's not just Boulder County, it could be others as well. But this is a need that I saw particularly in my district, which is part of the reason why I brought the bill. And the types of loans that are anticipated here, particularly with the 8% cap on unencumbered funds that we put on in an amendment at the committee, are lower-ish type of loans. And we spoke with, of course, the representatives of the bankers groups here, and they acknowledge that these types of paving situations or these types of road repairs are not something that the banks typically play in, particularly for low dollar. And so we're really trying to fit a niche that's not something that the banks really play in typically now, and particularly with the guardrails we put in the bill, and particularly going through the checklist and particularly having to go through banks first and see what they can offer, it allows the counties to do something that the banks may not necessarily do and allows infrastructure improvements to occur. I think everybody's district can use infrastructure improvements. If their county commissioners want to go through this, that's fine. It's just one way of many that we could do that. But we should allow the county commissioners to have this one tool in their toolbox if they choose to use it. I ask for an aye vote.
Are there any no votes? Mr. Minority Leader, Senator Marble, Senator Hill, Senator Quorum, Senator Smallwood, Senator Priola, Gardner, Rankin, Lundin, Sonnenberg, Woodward, Heisey. With a vote of 22 aye votes and 12 no votes and 1 excused, Senate Bill 139 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Winter, Moreno, Lee, Mr. Carpenter, please read the title of House Bill 1044.
House Bill 1044 by Representatives Byrd and Garnett and Senators Garcia and Janal concerning modifications to the pension plans administered by the Fire and Police Pension Association.
Senator Janal.
Thank you, Madam President. I move House Bill 1044 on third reading and final passage.
Is there any further discussion? Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Madam President. As all of you know who have ever served in the minority, and that is most of you here, process matters. And so I was alarmed to receive an email yesterday from the executive director of the Colorado Municipal League about the process on this bill. You will recall that it flew through second reading. Some of you may not have read that. If for no other reason, I want to read it into the record in perhaps not its entirety, but as much as possible. Members of the Colorado Senate, on behalf of the Colorado Municipal League and nearly 100% of the member municipalities with irrevocable membership in the Fire and Police Pension Association, I am respectfully requesting your no vote on House Bill 201044 on third and final reading. You may wonder why you're receiving this request at this time. As members of the Senate Local Government Committee can attest, municipal employer representatives testified last week that they desired to work with the sponsors on meaningful compromise that would address employer concerns and chart a path forward. Members passed the bill out of the committee with the understanding that discussion would continue. Out of respect for leadership and their agreement to hear members' concerns directly this past Monday, the League and members held back on directly advocating for our compromise amendment with the full Senate. Indeed, CML and our members believe that further discussion would occur and would include some rationale for the continued and outright rejection of compromise proposals at each stop this bill has had since it was first proposed to the Pension Reform Commission Interim Committee. Regrettably, there has been no response from proponents and no acknowledgement of the local fiscal impact that will occur, in many cases impacts that will be exacerbated by collective bargaining agreements that did not anticipate the unfunded pension contribution mandate on employers. It is no accident that the president of the local firefighters union in Pueblo indicated yesterday that he would support the compromise, as collective bargaining agreements like Pueblo's are carefully negotiated based on known facts. The request for your opposition is not an easy one. CML has deep regard and appreciation for the House and Senate sponsors and the close ties they have to the cities from which they hail. 100 municipal police and fire departments impacted by this legislation also have deep respect for their employees, as does the League. However, the pension plan is 99% funded, actuarially sound, receives total contributions that exceed the cost of the plan, and will provide all the benefits promised to employees. The opposition to this legislation is because the General Assembly is changing the rules that it asked employees to abide by in 2010 for their own contribution increase and rejecting meaningful and appropriate attempts to compromise. The bill as it currently stands inserts the legislature as decision maker over local budgets by mandating a 5% increase in employer contributions to the FPPA statewide defined benefit plan. It creates significant fiscal impacts for municipal members currently in FPPA. The impact on municipalities over time, depending on the number of public safety employees, ranges into the millions of dollars with no state funding for the mandate. Impacts CML members that recently re-entered FPPA after being told that no employer contribution increase was attempted or would be sought, and with no knowledge of the coming 5% employer contribution increase. It also disregards carefully negotiated collective bargaining agreements where applicable. On the other hand, the compromise amendment requested by CML and rejected without comment by FPPA and employee organizations would follow historic precedent by allowing employers and employees to vote on contribution increases for the 99% funded plan, as well as the included early retirement enhanced benefit that is mandated to be funded solely by employers. It increases employer contributions for 3 years and required a plan election for everything else, just as employee contributions were subject to a plan election that occurred in 2014, subsequent to the 2010 legislation. Members, I won't go on. You received this email. I will say that it ends with a commitment from the Colorado Municipal League that they would work with the sponsors on a compromise, that it was their expectation that there would be further discussion before we went to second reading. And so, Madam Chair, I move a substitute motion that House Bill 1044 be returned to the Committee of the Whole for second reading consideration.
Senator Crowder.
Thank you, Madam President. I also heard this in committee, and there was talk about negotiating with the parties that were involved. But since that has happened, I've gotten several emails from city police throughout my district that are objecting to this bill. And I will tell you, in committee, I was a yes, but I was a no on consent calendar, and I will be a no on this bill because it does need more work. And I would urge the committee to actually take into account the previous speaker's motion that this goes back to seconds, because we're not there yet. Thank you.
Further discussion. Mr. President.
Thank you, Madam President. Well, members, the reality is we have a job to do here, and this was on seconds yesterday. I want to clarify the record for several of you. This is the result of almost a year and a half of stakeholder work. I feel committed to working with not only CML, but everyone who has approached us in a meaningful way and wanting to work on this bill. Again, a year and a half is a long time to be part of a process. And for those of you who weren't, not to impugn the Senate, but for those of you who weren't paying attention, it was on the calendar yesterday. It's been on the calendar. It's been part of the process. It was in committee. So I think for some members to assume that this was not part of the process, it was part of the process. I've been a little distracted by the fact that we received a late email yesterday. And so, we've always said we're willing to work with those who have concerns. But sometimes in this building, we don't reach agreement. And that's a reality. And so, the process is where it's lended us today. And I'd encourage an aye vote as a result of a year and a half of stakeholder work.
Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, members. And I just wanted to, I won't echo what the President said because I don't need to repeat it, but I agree. And I acknowledge some of the concerns brought up in the email, et cetera, but I'm going to be standing with the firefighters and the first responders and supporting them and voting yes on this measure. And I would encourage you to do the same. Thank you very much.
Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. And I do rise in support of the motion offered by the good senator from El Paso County. And I also want to recognize the perspective of the President. This bill couldn't have reached this point in the process if it hadn't gone through the process. However, I am hearing from municipalities in the district that I represent, in particular Lone Tree. I think it's rather unusual for the city of Lone Tree to stand up this late and say, wait, and they're asking me to vote no. But I could support, or I would support, the motion made by the good senator from El Paso County. But here's the perspective of the city of Lone Tree, Madam President. Hello, Senator Holbert. Thank you again for engaging with us on House Bill 1044. I realize it's a long shot, but now that the bill has hit the full Senate, we ask that you consider voting no on this legislation. The bill will create significant fiscal impacts for municipal members currently in FPPA, including the city of Lone Tree. The impact on municipalities over time, depending on the number of public safety employees, ranges into the millions of dollars with no state funding for the mandate. A compromise amendment requested by CML followed historical precedent by allowing employers and employees to vote on contribution increases for the 98.6% funded plan, as well as the included early retirement enhanced benefit that is mandated to be funded solely by employers. The rejected request would have increased employer contributions for 3 years and required a plan election for everything else. Though we want to support our police officers through House Bill 20-1044, we also believe the proposed CML amendments were a fair compromise from the original draft. Now that they have been rejected, we request a no vote. Have a great afternoon, and please let us know if you have any other related questions. And that comes from Jeff Hallwell, Director of Economic Development and Public Affairs for the City of Lone Tree. This is an entity that is well-funded. In Douglas County, our municipalities are well-funded. We have a strong tax base. And I believe that the leadership of the City of Lone Tree would like to be supportive of its police and fire employees. They would like to, it seems in this email, they would like to be supportive of House Bill 1044. But given their understanding of an amendment that was discussed, proposed, they thought would receive more consideration between committee and here in the chamber, they're now raising their hand as a municipality and saying, wait, stop. And if you can't or won't do that, vote no. I think that's unfortunate because I don't presume to speak for the City of Lone Tree, but I believe that they would like to be in support of this bill and their police and fire employees, but at this point they cannot. So for those reasons, I would ask you to please vote yes on the good senator's motion to put this back to second reading and see if we can't address this concern and bring more municipalities in our respective districts into support for this bill. Thank you, Madam President.
Senator Bridges?
Thank you, Madam President. I urge a no vote on the substitute motion because process is important. CML is a very good lobbying organization, and they understand very well what the process is here in the Senate. We had second reading yesterday, and if they wanted an amendment, then they should have talked with someone to have them propose that amendment. If they wanted more time, they should have talked with someone and asked them to move that the bill lay over for a few more days. We're on third reading, and we have a process on third reading for amendments as well. And so if the motion was to say, let's put an amendment on, permission for an amendment, that's another process that we have. But moving a bill back from third reading to second reading is not a common part of our process, and we shouldn't do it just because a lobbying group failed to get an amendment on second reading. I urge a no vote on this motion.
Senator Corm?
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you all for listening to this. We did hear this bill in committee. At the committee time, I was concerned that the 3 years may be a little tough on some of the communities to come forward. I think it put risk at completing other projects that those cities need to do. So I was hoping that we could come forward with maybe a 5-year plan. I never introduced that amendment, and I probably should have, but anyway, I would support the taking it back for second readings. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion is to refer House Bill 1044 back to the Committee of the Whole. Are there any no votes? Senators Bridges, Mr. President, Lee, Bridges, I have you, Danielson, Janal, Gonzalez, Fields, Mr. Majority Leader, Rodriguez, Winter, Hanson, Williams, Foote, Janal, Pedersen, Zenzinger, Story, Moreno, Mr. President, please add the President. And I am also a no vote. And please excuse Senator Donovan. With 15 aye votes and 18 no votes and 2 excused, that motion has failed. Senate House Bill 1044 co-sponsors. Is there any further discussion? Senator Tate.
Thank you, Madam President. And listening to the letter from the Colorado Municipal League refreshed my memory of some of the committee hearings I participated on this bill. And I'd like to provide some context as to why the dust-up. Probably the largest mistake that pension plans make is when they're fully funded, interested parties decide to raise benefits. And that is much easier to do, if you think about it, raising benefits, giving away benefits, than it is to maintain the financial solvency of the plan. And the first iteration of discussions around this idea was related to raising benefits. To the sponsor's credit, they have put in a robust funding mechanism to make sure the plan maintains its projected level of solvency, and that's why the price tag is so high and municipalities are upset. and I give them credit for that. It's actually a departure from what we've seen in 25 years of pensions in Colorado, where we gave away benefits at a great discount to what they actually cost. So the Senate President and the Senator from Larimer County did a great job on making sure the solvency was there. I just am concerned about, the payment part. Thank you, Madam President.
Is there any further discussion? Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In light of the discussion, and discussion about process, I understand the reservation about moving this bill back to second reading, but this is a deliberative process, and therefore I make a substitute motion, Madam President. I move that the consideration of House Bill 1044 be postponed to a date certain, that date certain being Wednesday, March 11th, 2020, and request a roll call vote.
Is there further discussion? Mr. President.
Thank you, Madam President. And members, I'd encourage a no vote on that substitute motion and just ask that we continue on the calendar and the process as we are.
Senator Janal.
Thank you, Madam President. And the FPPA had decided on this bill in September in an interim committee. And it went through the House already without these issues. And so I'm wondering why all of a sudden this comes about when we had second reading yesterday and nothing was said. So I urge no vote.
Seeing no further discussion, Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Madam President. This bill has been in process for a very, very long time. There have been discussions going on about this bill for a very, very long time. This is a House bill. That means it has already had a full discussion in the other chamber. For a fire alarm, pun intended, to go off here on third reading because, frankly, what it sounds to me is that some lobbyists dropped the ball. That's not the process that we go through here. If you don't like the bill, there's a process for that. You vote no on the bill. If you don't want to stand with firefighters and police, vote no on the bill. That is entirely up to you. But the games that we're playing on third reading here, I don't even think we saw these games last year. Lobbyists dropped the ball. That's not something that we are here to fix. Stand with our firefighters, stand with our police, vote no on the substitute motion, vote yes on the bill.
Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, we can talk about process all we want. We can talk about they had their chance. We can blame lobbyists. We can blame whoever you want in this room. But the truth is, it's our job to get it right. It's our job to do the right thing. And if there's questions whether or not we're doing the right thing, in every other instance, we lay a bill over. We talk about it more. We put people in a room and we figure out if there's common ground. Because someone came to the table late, or wasn't at the table, or didn't understand, or for whatever reason, shouldn't matter. What should matter is, are we getting the policy right? That's why I ask you to vote yes on my colleague from Colorado Springs' motion to see if a week changes this and we get it right, rather than take a chance
that we make a mistake. Ask for your yes vote on the substitute motion.
Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. Not only for acknowledging me, but your words of wisdom here last year. This is an opportunity for we in the upper chamber to remember there's no settled questions, to remember that we have the opportunity here in this chamber to build better relationships, get to know each other, trust each other. And I would hope that the senator from District 26 might rethink the use of the word games. There hasn't been a single game played here. There have been motions made that are right here in the rule book. This is part of the process too. And while I respect and maybe even envy I think the reality that the senator from District 26 hasn't had the opportunity to serve in the minority, I hope someday he does. But serving in the minority doesn't make it a game to make a motion, to stand up for our constituents or the jurisdictions within our Senate districts. And that's all we're doing. I would ask us to rise above conflict, to rise above describing the other caucus as playing games. There's no children here. We are adults. And what we're doing is fully appropriate. And I would ask for your consideration. If not a week, a day, could the city that I represent, Lone Tree, that has expressed concern about where the bill is right now toward the end, could we not point fingers at our associates out there in the lobby? They're just First Amendment advocates. They're just representing their clients. If not a week, how about a day? Short of a day, I ask for an aye vote on the good senator's motion.
Senator Winter.
Thank you, Madam President. I don't think the motion's a game. It's part of the rules. However, this has been well vetted. It has been through committee. It has been stakeholdered. And ultimately, this is a piece of policy that is needed, is important, and we have a process of multiple committee hearings for a reason. We have a process of second readings for a reason. And at this hour, to call foul, I think, is saying that we didn't do our process. We did our process. We've talked about this. We've vetted this. We have worked on this bill. This is a strong bill that's important to our firefighters and our police officers, and I encourage you a no vote on this motion.
Senator Janal.
Thank you, Madam President. Just to repeat, this is no surprise. It came out of an interim committee, the interim committee for FPPA. And this bill, as you see it now, it had some amendments put on in the House, but as you see it now, as it was amended, was decided upon in October of 2019. This is no surprise to anyone. So if anyone had any issues, why didn't you come forward then? I urge a no vote.
Mr. Carpenter, please excuse Senator Donovan from the roll. Seeing no further discussion, the motion is to lay over House Bill 1044 to Wednesday, March 11th. A roll call vote has been requested. Mr. Carpenter, please poll the senators.
Senators Bridges. Bridges, no. Cook, excused. Quorum. Quorum, aye. Crowder. Crowder, aye. Danielson. Danielson, no. Donovan, excused. Finberg. Finberg, no. Fields. Fields, no. Foot. Foot, no. Gardner. Gardner, aye. Janal. Janal, no. Gonzalez. Gonzalez, no. Hanson. Hanson, no. Hill. Hill, aye. Heisey. Heisey, no. Holbert. Holbert, aye. Lee. Lee, no. Lundeen. Lundeen, aye. Marble. Marble, aye. Moreno. Moreno, no. Pedersen. Pedersen, no. Priola. Priola, aye. Rankin. Rankin, aye. Rodriguez. Rodriguez, no. Scott. Scott, aye. Smallwood. Smallwood, aye. Sonnenberg. Sonnenberg, aye. Story. Story, no. Tate. Tate, aye. Williams. Williams, no. Winter. Winter, no. Woodward. Woodward, aye. Zinzinger. Zinzinger, no. President Garcia. No. President Garcia, no. Madam President.
No.
Madam President, no.
Senator Heisey.
Thank you, Madam President. I wish to change my vote to an aye.
That is the proper motion. With a vote of 15 ayes, 18 noes, and 2 excused, Senate bill or House bill, or that motion to further delay House Bill 1144 is failed. Are there any no votes on House Bill 1044? I'm sorry. Oh, is there any further discussion on the bill? Senator Gardner. Oh, Senator Gardner, I'm sorry to tell you, but you have already spoken twice on this bill on third reading. Thank you. Senator Tate. Are you not speaking? Going for chocolate. Okay. So let's announce that Senator Tate has gone for chocolate. Okay. Seeing no further discussion, are there any no votes on House Bill 1044? Mr. Minority Leader. Senator Lundeen, Priola, Smallwood, Gardner, Scott, Tate, Rankin, Woodward, Sonnenberg, Heisey, Crowder, Hill, Quorum. With a vote of 19 ayes and 14 noes and 2 excused, House Bill 1044 has passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Bridges, Fields, Gonzalez, Danielson, Moreno, Lee, Pedersen, Story, Winter, Hanson, Rodriguez, Foote, Williams, please add the president. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title to House Bill 1074.
House Bill 1074 by Representatives Ransome, Titone, and Senator Smallwood concerning the authorization for special districts to provide for the collection and transportation of solid waste.
Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Madam President. I move House Bill 1074 on third reading, final passage. Ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion of the passage of House Bill 1074. Are there any no votes? Senators Marble? Mr. Minority Leader? Sonnenberg? With a vote of 30 ayes and 3 noes and 2 excused, House Bill 1074 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senator Moreno. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title of Senate Bill 80.
Senate Bill 80 by Senator Rodriguez and Representative Woodrow concerning amending the Colorado Consumer Protection Act to increase the damages for which a plaintiff is eligible.
Senator Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam President. I move Senate Bill 80, and ask for an aye vote.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of Senate Bill 80. Are there any no votes? Mr. Minority Leader, Senator Marble, Hill, Coram, Priola, Woodward, Sonnenberg, Heisey, Gardner, Rankin, Smallwood, Tate, Lundin, Scott, Crowder. With a vote of 18 ayes and 15 noes and 2 excused, Senate Bill 80 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senator Lee, Danielson, Gonzalez, Mr. Majority Leader, Moreno, Story, Winter, Mr. Carpenter, please read the title of House Bill 1057.
House Bill 1057 by Representatives Carver, McCluskey, and Senators Corman and Finberg concerning modifications to the Forest Restoration and Wildfire Risk Mitigation Act.
Senator, Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. I move House Bill 1057 on third reading and final passage.
Is there any discussion? Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, I'm going to be a yes on this because I think we are now in a good place and good direction. I apologize I wasn't here yesterday, but I wanted to vent my frustration. And that frustration is that we are finally where we need to be. We are finally doing the things that we talked about 3 or 4 years ago, but instead the decision was made to buy 2 silly airplanes for early detection in the tune of millions of dollars that now we rent to other states instead of using Colorado. I am hoping that this committee and these sponsors will do something to rectify that. Sell those airplanes, put that money back in the coffer so we can actually fight fires and do things in Colorado to protect those neighborhoods. I'm going to be a yes, but I just wanted to share with you my frustration on this ongoing process and how we have squandered money in the past, and thank the sponsors for getting us on the right track.
Senator Corm.
Thank you, Madam President. I had actually was going to come down and move Senate Bill 93, but I was sleeping back there and I didn't get it done. So I will refer to my colleague here. But thank you all very much for this. This is an important issue. Early detection is vital in our fires, and I think this is just a tool that, you know, if we can get this out and make sure that when a fire is located, we have the materials moved and the grants to those communities that cannot afford it. Thank you.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll be very brief. I understand there is some frustration around how money is being spent or has been spent in the past when it comes to detecting and mitigating against and putting out fires. This bill, though, House Bill 1057, is quite simple. It is not necessarily about those previous disagreements that we have had, in my opinion. This is an existing program that the Wildfire Matters Review Committee in the interim just made some small tweaks to make it more accessible to communities that don't have the resources that some wealthier communities may have. Simply lowers the threshold, opens it up to in-kind contributions to being matches for this program, and says that some communities don't need to meet that 50% match, but instead they can just meet it with 25%. Just simply making the money that we do provide to communities for wildfire mitigation more accessible to all communities around the state. I urge an aye vote. Thanks.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of House Bill 1057. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 33 aye, 2 excused, and no absent, House Bill 1057 has passed. Co-sponsors: Senators Winter, Hansen, Story, Moreno, Fields, Bridges. Mr. President, Pedersen, Rodriguez, Crowder, Heisey, Lundin, Woodward, Rankin, Scott, Tate, Priola, Gonzalez, Mr. Carpenter, please read the title to the long-awaited Senate Bill 93. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. You know, I just looking at the time, I think we should lay over the balance of the third reading of bills calendar until let's say tomorrow, March 5th.
Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Madam President. I make a substitute motion that we take up immediate consideration of Senate Bill 93 and withdraw my motion.
Is there any further discussion?
We're not on the bill.
You have heard the motion to lay over Senate Bill, or excuse me, to hear Senate Bill 93, to lay it over. What are we doing? Laying it?
I'm not trying to be.
But do we? You've heard the motion to lay over the balance of the third reading calendar. All those in favor say aye. All opposed? The balance of the third calendar, the long-awaited third calendar, has passed. Mr. Majority Leader.
No, I didn't ask to be recognized. We're on second.
So we're ready to go to Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of General Order, second reading of bills, consent calendar.
Yeah. You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion is adopted, and the Senate will resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of general orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar, and Senator Zenzinger will take the chair. Thank you.
The committee will come to order and the coat rule is relaxed. Will the clerk please read the title of all the bills on general order, second reading of bills consent calendar?
House Bill 1181 by Representatives Arnett, McKean, and Senators Moreno and Woodward concerning the repeal of the fuel tax exemption for nonprofit transit agencies.
Majority Leader Fenberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move for the adoption of the one bill on the consent calendar and none of the committee reports that may or may not be associated with that bill, including House Bill 1181.
Is there any discussion on any of the bills on consent calendar? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of House Bill 1181 on consent. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bill is adopted.
Senator Sensinger.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee has had a bill under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
Madam President, your committee will hold Biggs legal presenting serious and following test bills being seconded. The other makes the following recommendations are 1. House Bill 1181 pass second reading or res place calendar for the reading and final passage.
The motion is for the adoption of the Committee of the Whole report. Are there any no votes? Senator Sensinger.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the report.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I jumped ahead of you. The motion is for the adoption of the Committee of the Whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 33 ayes, 0 noes, and 2 excused,
We don't even need to go in.
the Committee of the Whole report is adopted. Please read the report. Oh, I read the report. House Bill 20-1181 passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the balance of the calendar on the general order second reading of bills lay over until Friday, March 6th.
The motion is to lay over the second reading calendar till Thursday, March 5th, Friday, March 6th. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the calendar will lay over until Friday, March 6th. Okay. Consideration of resolutions. Will the clerk please read the title of SJR 017?
Joint Resolution 17 by Senator Fenberg and Representative Garnett concerning changes to the joint rules of the Senate and House of Representatives regarding equal access to legislative proceedings.
Majority Leader Fenberg.
Thank you, Madam President. I move Senate Joint Resolution 017.
Is there any discussion? Seeing no further, Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, this is a very small change to the joint rules, which is why we need to do a resolution. It simply, as you will see, updates our ADA policy and ensures that the rules reference the correct office that will deal with handling our ADA policy, which is going to be the going to be the Office of Workplace Relations, I think is what we called it, with Ben Fitzsimons. The joint rule references the incorrect place, and so we need to simply make that update. This is something that we discussed in executive committee. It's a small change to make sure that we are compliant with our policies.
Is there further discussion? Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. I ask for a senatorial 5.
Granted. Just come back. Okay. So when we come back. Seeing no further discussion, the motion is the adoption of SJR 17. Because the resolution amends the rules and did not have a 3-day notice, it will require 24 votes to pass. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 33 ayes, 0 noes, and 2 excused, SJR 17 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senators Hansen, Moreno, Lee, Bridges, Rodriguez, Gonzalez, Winter, Danielson, Mr. President, Fields, Pedersen, Story, Mr. Minority Leader, Senator Crowder, Priola, Tate, Rankin, Woodward, Gardner, Janal, please remove Rodriguez. I did not. Yeah. Announcements. Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, today you may encounter members of the Colorado Association of School Boards. I believe one or more members of the Douglas County Board of Education are here, but they also have students from Douglas County School District who are here to see the Capitol and experience what we do. If you encounter CASB members or students from my district or yours, please say hello. Thank you, Madam President.
Senator Williams.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, today the Colorado Bankers Association will have their luncheon at 12 noon at the Brown Palace. You all are invited. Members of the Senate Business, Labor, and Technology Committee, we will meet today at 1:30 in 354. We have a couple of appointments, and then we'll hear 83, 1080, 1174, 1175, and 1176 in that order. Please be prompt. Thank you.
Senator Fields.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the Capital Development Committee will be meeting tomorrow at 8 a.m. in room 357.
Senator Zenzinger. And Senator Lundin.
Thank you, Madam President. May I have a moment of personal privilege?
You may.
Members, we have a special tribute that we would like to share with you this morning.
Granted. Senator Lundin.
Thank you, Madam President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Colorado hospitals are very important to us all. We have a tribute here we would like to share with you in their honor, and I'm going to read it to you. Colorado hospitals stand at the ready 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 366 days this particular year, 365 days most years, to provide compassionate, life-saving care. They have provided more than 1.8 million emergency visits, 423,000 inpatient discharges, 101 million outpatient visits, and delivered more than 57,000 babies. You can hear the cry of those children even now. They are bedrock institutions in our communities, employing more than 96,000 employees statewide and serving as the largest employer in 11 of the 14 regions of the state, providing more than $3.1 billion in economic benefit to the communities each year. in honor of their demonstrated commitment to improving patient safety and the quality of care, tackling readmissions, hospital-acquired conditions, infection prevention in a time of COVID-19, and more, we offer this tribute in their recognition of their contributions to Colorado and the broader society. Given this fourth day, January 2020, on behalf of Senators Zenzinger, Lundin, and the members of the Colorado General Assembly.
Senator Zinsinger.
Thank you. Members, we just want to make sure that you're aware that there is a reception today. Hospitals on the Hill will be from 12 to 1 p.m. today. It'll be at the Knights of Columbus over there on Grant Street. And the Colorado Hospital Association would like to invite you to attend to have lunch with leaders from hospitals around the state as part of their Hospitals on the Hill event here today. These hospital leaders will be sharing their best practices and new initiatives that they've undertaken to address healthcare affordability in their communities, and we do hope that you will join us. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Senator Lee.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to announce for Judiciary Committee will not be hearing Senate Bill 181 today. It's postponed for a week, so no Senate Judiciary Committee meeting today. Thank you.
Senator Priola.
Thank you, Madam President. Ask for a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you. Members, today, the Capital Society of Health and Physical Educators, SHAPE, Colorado is a nonprofit organization composed of hundreds of educators and advocates. SHAPE Colorado's mission is to provide leadership, professional development, and advocacy for health, physical education, recreation, dance professionals in the state of Colorado. They provide professional learning opportunities throughout the year and conduct an annual fall convention that draws individuals from around the state. SHAPE Colorado Volunteer Board meets 5 times a year and is made up of professionals ranging from pre-service teachers to retired teachers and community partners. They promote healthy education and physical education issues at this legislative level, and Senator Todd and I had a lovely opportunity to work with them last year, and provide advocacy resources for their members. SHAPE Colorado, in conjunction with several statewide partners from the P for All Coalition, were pleased to be involved with the efforts to get the comprehensive quality physical education introduction pilot that was passed last year with bipartisan support in both chambers and signed into law during the 2019 legislative session. Thank you, members, very much.
Senator Pedersen.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, it is Hunger Free Colorado's Hunger Action Day, and they are going to have lunch at the Scottish Rite building there in the southeast corner. The food is supposed to be amazing today. We hope you can join us.
Senator Chenal.
Thank you, Madam President, and may I take a moment of personal privilege?
You may.
Thank you. I just want to welcome the political science class and their professor from Front Range Community College today. They'll be around the building and learning about how this Capitol works. So say hello and thanks for being here. Thank you.
Senator Winter.
Thank you, Madam President. Health and Human Services is going to be meeting 15 minutes upon adjournment in the old Supreme Court. As well, Senator Rodriguez is going to be replacing Senator Fields on Health today.
Message from the House.
The House has passed on third reading change with revised statutes House Bill 1301 and 1234. The House has passed on third reading change with revised statutes House Bill 1102. Minutes printed in the House Journal March 3rd, 2020. House Bill 1225. Minutes printed in the House Journal February 28, 2020. The House has passed on third reading returns here with Senate Bill 17, 6, 81, 64, and 79. The House has passed on third reading change with revised statutes Senate Bill 39. Minutes printed in the House Journal February 28, 2020. Senate Bill 123. Minutes printed in the House Journal February 28, 2020.
Signing of bills.
The President has signed Senate Bill 25, 43, 47, 48, and 113.
Committee reports.
March 3rd, 2020, Committee on Local Government. After consideration, Mayor's Committee following House Bill 1031 be referred to Committee of the Whole with a favorable recommendation.
Message from the revisor.
We herewith transmit without comment House Bill 1234 and 1301 without comment as amended, House Bill 1102 and 1225 without comment as amended, Senate Bill 39 and 123.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. I think we just have a couple of House bills to read across, so we will come back, but folks don't need to be here. Move the Senate recess until 11 a.m. today.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it. The motion is adopted. The Senate will recess until 11:38.